All right, everyone, ready to dive into the world of podcasting?
Sounds exciting.
It is. We're taking a deep dive into der Podcastleitfaden für Podcaster vom Anfang bis zum GPT-Modell, 6.pdf. This guide is seriously packed with information.
It's really impressive how much they've managed to cover, yeah.
Absolutely. But don't worry, we're here to break down the essentials. So you want to launch your own podcast.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
We're going to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to share your voice with the world.
I like it. Now, the guide starts with the tech stuff, and I know that can seem a little intimidating at first.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a maze, but you absolutely do not need a professional recording studio to get started.
Exactly. Don't get overwhelmed. Let's talk about microphones first. This guide goes deep on dynamic versus condenser mics.
Choosing the right mic is important, and they each have their own strengths. Think of a dynamic mic like a good work truck, you know? It's sturdy, versatile, perfect for capturing those energetic interviews.
Ooh, and I bet you those condenser mics are more for those intimate storytelling podcasts, like sharing secrets around a campfire.
That's a perfect way to put it. Condenser mics are amazing at picking up those subtle nuances, those breaths between words that add so much to a story.
Love it. Now, I know the guide touches on audio interfaces and mixing boards, but honestly, you don't need to worry too much about those right away. We'll get there.
Right. Don't let the technical stuff hold you back, especially when you're just starting out. Focus on finding your voice and sharing your passion.
Speaking of, this guide really hits the nail on the head with the whole finding your niche thing.
Absolutely. It's crucial. You can't be everything to everyone.
Exactly. Like, I tried that once, offering to write poems and fix leaky faucets. Didn't go so well. Turns out podcasting is more my thing.
I hear you. But when you find that thing, that passion, that niche, that's when the magic happens.
It really is. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. You want to connect with listeners who are as passionate about a topic as you are.
And that shared passion is what makes a podcast special.
Now, passion's great and all, but you also need to know how to tell a compelling story. Thankfully, this guide has got us covered there too.
Right. It emphasizes the importance of structure. And it makes sense your favorite podcasts don't just ramble.
Exactly. Think about a good movie. There's a beginning, a middle, an end. Structure keeps things engaging.
I completely agree. And speaking of engagement, the guide talks about how powerful interviews can be for podcasting.
Interviews can really add a whole other dimension. I get it, though. Interviewing someone, especially if they're a big name, could be kind of nerve-wracking.
Oh, absolutely. It can be intimidating, for sure.
But this guide, it actually gives some really great advice on how to prepare for interviews and make them awesome. Like really, really good tips.
It does. And one thing it stresses is doing your homework.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just like, reading their bio on Wikipedia.
Right.
Dive into their work,
Yeah.
Uncover those little details that make their story interesting and unique.
Yeah. Like instead of, so you're a chef, huh? How'd that happen? I'm more like, I read that you spent like a whole summer trying to perfect this one recipe using only ingredients you grew yourself.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That gets people talking, It's not just a boring interview anymore. It's a conversation.
Right. It's like you're like actually interested.
Exactly. And that's key, right? The guide emphasizes open-ended questions, the kind that makes people really think and open up.
The why and how questions, right? Not just the yes and no ones.
You got it. You want the listeners to feel like they're right there in the room with you, just listening to this amazing conversation unfold.
Makes sense.
And speaking of conversations, let's talk about editing for a second.
Editing?
Yeah, because even the best conversationalists, they have those ums and ahs every now and then, right? It's natural.
Totally. I used to think editing was like this super complicated thing that only pros could do.
Right. A lot of people think that.
But it's really not that scary once you get into it.
Exactly. The guide does a nice job of breaking it down.
Yeah.
And trust me, a little editing can make a huge difference. It's like that final polish on, say, a really beautiful piece of furniture.
I love that analogy. Brings out the shine, hides the imperfections.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it lets the true craftsmanship shine through.
So true. It's like you're presenting the best version of your podcast to the world.
Exactly. And once you've got those beautifully edited episodes, it's time to share them with the world.
That's the exciting part.
And that's where choosing the right hosting platform comes in.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Talk about options.
The guide talks about that, how it can be a bit overwhelming.
It really can.
But the good news is there's a platform out there for everyone. It's about finding one that suits your comfort level.
Yeah.
Like how tech savvy are you?
For sure. And this guide breaks down some beginner-friendly options too, which is super helpful. Like if you're just starting out, you don't need something super complicated.
You got it. You'll be up and running in no time with those.
That's awesome.
And once you're all set up, it's time to start spreading the word. Let people know about your podcast.
Get out there, yeah.
The guide has some really clever marketing tips too, beyond just like posting on social media.
I was going to say, there's got to be more to it than that, right?
Absolutely. Like, where do your ideal listeners hang out online? What other things are they interested in?
Find those connections, right? It's like if your podcast is all about, say, beekeeping, maybe you partner up with a local honey shop or something.
Exactly. You're thinking strategically. You're not just randomly posting online. You're connecting with people who are genuinely interested in what you're talking about.
It's about building a community.
And that's what it's all about, right?
It's about getting people excited about what you're excited about.
That's a great way to put it. And that excitement, it spreads. It's what draws people in.
And that's what it's all about, right? This guide, their Podcastleitfaden for podcasters, it really does lay it all out there, from choosing the right equipment to telling a story that resonates.
It's a fantastic resource, for sure. Really comprehensive.
It really is, but now it's about taking that knowledge and actually, doing it.
Exactly. It's your turn to get out there. Find your voice.
Share your passion with the world. And you know what? As we're wrapping up here, it occurs to me the most important thing isn't some fancy microphone or like a million followers.
What is it then?
It's about that thing inside you, that story you want to tell, that knowledge you want to share.
That's what makes a podcast special. That's what people connect with.
Exactly. That's the real magic. So, hey, go out there, find your niche, craft your story, let your voice be heard. Until next time, happy podcasting.